Hello, my name is Kyle Suggs and welcome to my channel where we cover movie, TV, and culture filtered right. And today is informal and I want to get back into it because I haven't done a blog in a while and I wanted to get you guys up to speed as to what's going on and what happened this weekend with me and everything else. So just for those who are your first time here, if you want to find out more content about what I just mentioned, consider liking and subscribing. Let us know what you think. And this is basically me sitting back at my desk and going through the day's news. And in this case, it's going to be the weekend news of what happened and kind of fill you guys in on what my life's like going through this. And just wanted to basically kick off a few things and then get into some issues that or some stories that are going on right now. And trying to focus this on the entertainment side of it, TV and movies, but also culture, because things do cross over. And the one thing I say about filtering right, if you look at this icon here, that's basically this new icon or new logo that I came up with. And essentially, it's what this channel is all about. And so you have on the left there, you have TV, culture, and TV and movies, which basically says it gives me some openness to do a broad spectrum, but primarily it's going to be TV and movies. And the middle is a air filter as you see content going in, and the concept is identity politics in particular is something that I'm kind of tired of and something that's come to the front in a lot of our discussions, not only in TV and entertainment and so forth, but also in sports and everything we see, and especially politics, of course, as we know that's getting very a lot of attention in the news and so forth. But just focus on these three areas, kind of give some leeway to content that affects almost all of us. And I've always wanted a way to do movie reviews and that sort of thing. I've been doing it for a long time. I'm going to do an example of back in the day in the 90s. I did a review for ChristianAnswers.net. You can look me up there and see some reviews that I did. I did The Phantom Menace and so forth, and you can see my reviews for that was pretty much a perfect score for them. But as you see things happen where we go back and say, well, maybe that wasn't the best review, but based on what's going on now with The Last Jedi, I'm actually going back and looking at The Force Awakens, The Phantom Menace, and I'm like, you know what? By comparison to The Last Jedi, I think it's a pretty darn good movie. So anyway, so in the center there you get the filtered right, which basically I'm going to de-spin stuff and put it into the context, which is, in my opinion, truthful and honest and not pulling any punches in terms of the truth. And I'm going to cover some I wouldn't say hate mail, but some disagreements that have come across the the comments in YouTube on some of my videos. And I do that simply because it gives me a chance to respond and to change some perspectives and also to clear the record. Because a lot of times these comments are way off base, but I only do this because I want to make sure that I get a chance to say respond to their question or their comment, but also to let them know that I'm not really afraid to respond, right? And so you'll see when I get to that section. And lastly, at the other end, of course, is me. I'm the content of that, and my team here. So we go through this stuff that we see, and we go through other channels, and we take opinions, and we come up with a consensus. And mostly we all in agreement, and then we just put it out there. And that's it. It's simple as that. And so the idea is for people who are tired of being told one thing, how they're told that they're supposed to think one way, or told they're supposed to not think one way because they disagree with somebody, or just the negative spin that comes off and the misinformation. We try and break all that stuff down and put it into a way void of all that so we can actually get back to the real thing of why we're here. That's for the content of entertainment, TV, and culture in general. And so with that, this is what I have planned for today. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the channel. I kind of already started that. And I'm going to talk about some hate responses that came across the comment section. I'm also going to talk a little bit about Game of Thrones and Kit Harington, some of his comments that he made. And lastly, Frank Oz made a comment as well about Star Wars. So And so let's get into a little bit. I got some notes over here. Let me pull them up so I don't miss anything. Okay. All right. So this weekend. So what did I do? So I went up to New York this weekend. Actually, I went to Pennsylvania. I went to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Then I went to Allentown, Pennsylvania. I met some family there and took care of some stuff there and came back to Gaithersburg. I met with an editor there, a friend of mine who helped me with some concepts in terms of how to hotkey things on the keyboard, how to speed up production. Got a tour of Gaithersburg there, stayed with a buddy who was a police officer, and then went up to Long Island, New York for St. Patrick's Day, hung out there, and then came back home. And so all that time I was doing that, I was thinking about ideas, I was watching YouTube channels, watching information, learning about certain packages that can be brought into the channel, learning about concepts about marketing and messaging, and also about copyrights and how to protect yourself from that. Basically, I went to a school through YouTube and through Google of how to better a channel and have a better understanding. So the whole time I was actually doing all this stuff behind the scenes. I thought I knew a lot, but there's so much more I need to know. So I started implementing more changes, making a consistent theme. As you can see on my YouTube channel, you see my videos have a consistent theme now. They kind of look the same. Now there's some content in there that's a little bit not consistent because not all of it is entertainment based. Some of my earlier videos are about the walk away movement. And some of these comments that came out about this were about that, and people don't like that. Well, I'm sorry, this kind of got started because of that movement. I didn't want to do a YouTube channel per se. I wanted to do a video about how I left a certain mindset and went into another mindset, free thinking, and how that happened. That's just what it was, and that's who I am. And so to be fake and to be dishonest about that is a disservice to myself and disservice to anyone watching, because I don't want to be fake. So those videos are as politically correct as you can get, but they're also truthful. And some of the truth in there is a little bit hard to take. That being said, I think it's done in a professional manner. I don't use any profanity. I don't insult anybody. I state things where they are. And that's how I want this channel to move forward. Now, this channel is going to be focused on that. But at the same time, that's what got me here into wanting to do this. I did a quick video at the Battle of Gettysburg, my walk-away story. That translated into a movie review. That got like 30,000 hits on that one. That made me want to do more movie reviews. And then I went into this. And to make a channel under your own name, it's kind of difficult to have a theme. The theme really is me. And this is me on a digital plate. I do IT work for a living. I've been writing software for 30 years, probably longer than that. And so I understand this, but I have to flavor it through the reality of where we are, what I like, and where I want us to be. And that's this channel. I'm trying to keep it as consistent as possible, but I'm not going to shy away from who I am. So on weekends, I plan to have on weekend discussions, which are kind of just me meeting with somebody. I have some interviews lined up, several lined up actually, some music, some recording artists, a police officer again. We're going to do some police videos and stuff like that, and a content creator as well. And so that's going to be a weekend discussion. It's going to fall within the lines, but it's going to be outside the scope of everything. It's going to be once a week. And so that's that. But mostly it's going to be movie reviews, TV reviews, identifying social justice warriors, or woke culture, and how to identify that and to call it out. And this informal blog where I just talk about whatever's current as going on. And we'll just see how this goes. We'll tweak it and move forward. But I know some people are unhappy that I'm not doing enough videos on one topic versus another topic. Well, that's the way I'm thinking, and I will change wherever as I feel necessary. My main goal isn't to grow 1 million subscribers. It's mainly to be consistent and to put forth something that you like, that's going to be consistent, that's unique, and that's entertaining, and to get better every single video that I do this. Okay. All right. So I guess enough of that. So let's go on down to the first hate speech here. Hate speech. I'm sorry. The first hate. It's hate. Look, hate is a really bad word. I just use it as something, lack of a better term. But anyway, it's a disagreement. And so this video here, I'm sorry, this guy here is a person who's commenting on, I believe it was the Captain Marvel, what the video, okay? I think I got like 10,000 views on that one. He says, this video and this dishonest take didn't age well at all. The film is on its third week and about to cross 800 million. Okay, so, and I responded, being released between two of the biggest movies in world history and every major market in nearly every theater possible helped. That being said, nothing said there was untrue. Here is untrue. Your comment is the exact reason this channel was created. Thanks for the comment and click through. So he says basically, basically, you know, this movie's making $800 million, you know, in this third week, which is great, right? I mean, look, it's a Marvel movie, number one. Number two, it was released in just about every single theater it could possibly be open. It was a mass market approach to it, and Disney was smart. They essentially put it in its best position to succeed. Okay, not to mention that you had Endgame and Black Panther, two of the largest movies ever to come out in world history. In the middle of that, it sits Captain Marvel, all right? And then coming up soon is going to be Endgame, which is a conclusion to a serious cliffhanger of one of the largest, most popular movies of all time. So it was in a good position. But if you look at the movie reviews of the film, they're not great. They're just mediocre, you know. And so, yes, the movie's doing well, but it was probably going to do well regardless, okay? But that being said, that is a misdirection. That has nothing to do with the stated. Had nothing to do with the video. The video does not say, this movie's going to suck. Well, maybe I did say that. Maybe I did say that. But the point of the movie was, the point of the video, as I mentioned in there, was basically that we don't like being told how to think. That just because we dislike something doesn't mean that we are racist, homophobic, or sexist, okay? It also doesn't mean that Rotten Tomatoes has the ability to censor and to delete 50,000 users, okay? I don't believe that particular comment was in that video at 50,000, but they did that later. But certainly it was about the deletion of the fan score prior to the movie opening up. I mean, that's just what it is. Nothing can detract that, and that was the basis of the video to begin with. So this person was either dishonest, or he's trying to deceive. Well, either he's trying to deceive, or he just didn't watch the video. Okay, let's check out the next one. Okay, I redacted this guy's name. The first guy just had a number, so who cares about that, right? This guy's name has been redacted because, again, I don't want to necessarily embarrass anybody. The next person, I am going to leave the name out there because the comment was so blatantly disgusting that I'm going to leave it out there. But I did redact the language. In this case, this gentleman or woman says, serious question, are you people illiterate? How can you not understand that this sentence, Captain Marvel will pass break even in the theatrical window by the end of the week with 700 million worldwide, isn't saying that 700 million is the breaking even point, but rather Captain Marvel will pass its break even point and gain a box office of 750 million. Okay, I'm a computer programmer. I am involved in binary logic discussions every day. I understand the difference between an and an or condition, so I get the logic here. I respond by saying, if you actually watch the video, you will see that I said the exact same thing, so what's the problem? Essentially, I acknowledge that in the video. In fact, I referenced the blog where that came from. They also referenced that. I believe it was, I can't remember the name of the channel. I'll leave a link below, but the thing was, it was ambiguous, okay? The thought was, I mentioned in the video, I said basically that it was like $300 million for the production budget plus the advertising budget, give or take 100 million. So really we're at, could be at 400 million for a budget overall. So somewhere in between 350 to 400 million, all the way up to 750 million, somewhere in there, the break-even point probably is. It could be 750, it could be 300, we don't know. And it was just an ambiguous thing, and that was that. So again, this person probably is either being outright dishonest and trying to deceive, or he did not watch the video, which is why I respond like this, because I want it to be on record as clarification as to these responses. So I'm not doing it just because I'm getting negative responses. I get a lot worse than this. And so I'm not showing those, but this was a fair question. But the problem is it wasn't based on a fair position to begin with, because the question was not what actually happened in the video. Okay, let's go to the next one. Okay, this guy says, you can basically fill in the blanks. He says, you are completely full of blank. It would take many trucks to haul away your blank. Done with you. Okay, so this video was on the 3 ways to prove the political parties did not switch. Okay, this was the first walkaway video that I did. And walkaway, if you're not familiar with walkaway, is a hashtag movement by Brandon Straka, where he was a liberal Democrat, homosexual, who saw some things that he didn't agree with, that he saw within his own party, and he switched and left the Democrat Party and became independent. I believe he became a Republican too, but initially it was independent. He had a big video, it went viral, and he started this movement. So people started to put hashtag walkaway in their comments and so forth, and doing personalized videos of their experience, because even back then in the walkaway movement, which is why this is very important to this channel and why it's relevant, because even back then the walkaway movement, they were saying they were bots. They weren't real people. They were Russian bots. They weren't real people. And so Brandon said, you know what, why don't you just do videos? So you have thousands of these videos out there on YouTube and on this website of people saying, this is what I did. Black, white, old, young, transgender. I mean, all over the spectrum. I mean, Hispanic, Native American. It's just ridiculous. And so eventually I acquiesced, and I was actually at the Gettysburg National Military Park. I had my little camcorder. Sorry, that's how old I am. I had my cell phone and some headphones, and I went around the battlefield, did a video. You'll see that's one of my first videos that I did. It's a horrible video, horrible quality, and it was just a bad video from a production standpoint. But it got a lot of views, and I got a lot of positive feedback. And it was exhilarating to see that I wasn't the only person out there who felt this way. And so, yeah, so that started me wanting to do more. I mean, I didn't ask for this. I just wanted, it was a fad. I thought, let me just say this. I always wanted to explain it. And I'll probably do another video at some point with a higher production value, just to, because I really didn't cover a lot of the other things that I want to talk about, but it was good enough. And so yeah, so the first video I did after that, I said, you know what? There are going to be people that are going to want to know what to do. Okay, I'm sorry, let me get back to my first point. So after people walked away, they said they were bots. And I said, well, the videos were made. I made the video. And then I said, you know what? People are probably going to walk away and not know where to go from here. Because now that they're out of the closet, so to speak, you know, they're going to be under a lot of attacks and questions. Oh, you sell out this, you Uncle Tom that. What are you doing? You know, were you crazy? Are you insane? So I created a walkaway series, and the first walkaway series of videos. And the first video was about the 3 reasons the political parties didn't switch. Because as a black person, the first thing they tell you is that the political parties switched. Oh yeah, well the Republican parties were this then, but they actually switched and became Democrats and vice versa. So you have to kind of kill that narrative off the bat. So I spent several weeks researching, pulling up documentation from different people, different books, and so forth. I laid it all out in a narrative, outlined it. There's the video is indexed in the description. Every single thing I have in there is documented with actual quotes, not from opinions. A lot of it is actual documents, and so of what's going on. So it's really an irrefutable fact of what's going on. Not only that, I also went into the narrative of, okay, that was then. What is changing now? What is the difference between then and now? And I walk people through in a methodical, logical way to get them to think, oh, maybe this is true. If this is true, then what do I do now? And so it's a compelling thing. And if you are confronted with new information in this kind of way, it can become very scary, and you can have a flight or fight type of reaction. And that is what people are reacting to. They're not reacting to the fact that I'm putting out the video. Well, maybe they are. Maybe they're responding to the fact that I'm actually thinking for myself. And so anyway, that was that. And this comment, it's a long way to say this. this comment is basically just responding to that video. So basically he says nothing, just says I'm full of crap basically. And so I basically say, so what you are saying is you have no way to refute what I am saying. Awesome. Thanks for the comment, and click through. Now, see, I know I've commented on this and debated people for years on this. And I mean, whatever. I mean, just watch the video and you'll see it for yourself. I mean, it's right there. And so what are you going to do? So that was me basically saying, you know what, you can call me names, whatever, but at the same time, I'm not going to refuse. I'm not going to not be who I am. I can be up here and be fake and say, well, everything's good and dandy. Well, it's not. I want things to be civil and moving forward, but at this point in time, it's very difficult when people are attacking people just for the smallest mundane things. And so that's kind of why this channel was started, because I want to give myself a platform and other people a platform to enjoy the content that we grew up enjoying. That's all this is all about. All right. And so where are we at now? Okay. All right. So we got through that. I'm kind of brushed this other part here. I don't really want to talk about this Game of Thrones stuff, but I will anyway because I have it out here. But looks like Kit Harington. I'm not sure if you can read this. I'm going to zoom in here a little bit to the actual article. This is Variety. And Kit Harington, who plays Jon Snow on Game of Thrones, I'm just going to read the first 3 paragraphs and talk about it. So in Variety's March 19 cover story, Kit Harington opens up about the final season of Game of Thrones and growing into adulthood as part of the biggest show on television, which it is. And by the way, I love Game of Thrones. It's awesome. If you haven't watched it, well, you have time to catch up, but it's the last season coming up, season 8. It's going to be incredible, and I'm looking forward to seeing that. And we'll be talking a lot about that, and hopefully finding ways to relate to what's going on then and now, and hopefully this opinions are coming out here by these actors and actresses aren't going to be translated into the TV show, because that would just hurt the show in this last season, in my opinion. Okay, so Harington opened up about his similarities between the series, politics, and our own. So he's going to talk about Game of Thrones politics, versus today. He says, I think it's always been about 2 things for me, says Harington. About dysfunctional families, or families in general, always where the best drama is, and the everlasting idea that people who seek power are very often the last people who should have it. Unfortunately, we're leaving Thrones with a Joffrey as president of the United States of America. And Joffrey is the bad boy. He was the lunatic, crazy king who was basically a total, he was horrible. And anyway, it says basically he was a bad boy king who was killed in the 4th season, whatever, spoiler. Anyway, he says, I'm deeply sad of the state of the world as Thrones ends, because it was prophetic. You'd hope that people would have watched Thrones and tried to avoid some of the situations these characters find themselves in. And I feel like we are living in a more Thrones-like world. Okay, so obviously I'm not going to slander this guy, but it's obvious he doesn't know what he's talking about, because to compare President Trump with Joffrey is ludicrous. Okay, I mean, that's not even almost worth talking about. So that in and of itself is just silly to me. It just seems to me that Hollywood just can't get away from themselves to talk about this, not realizing that people don't want to hear this. They don't want to hear your political opinions. They don't care what you think. They just want you to act and to do your job and entertain us. Game of Thrones is a good series, not because of politics per se relating to a society today, but it's because it's just good storytelling. If anything, Game of Thrones is probably the most politically incorrect show if you look at it. And so, I could almost call him out as a hypocrite for his non-wokeness as it relates to Game of Thrones as a show versus his opinion of what he feels it relates to in terms of the present and today's culture. Now, he may have a point about Thrones-like world in terms of he may see the world in a way that people are being hyper aggressive and brutal, because the show is very brutal, it's very violent. And so I wouldn't recommend it if you were sensitive to that, especially if you're sensitive to that. And if you're young, you shouldn't be watching it anyway because it's just an adult show. But that being said, that's just the human condition. All right, so Game of Thrones is the human condition. From what I understand, Martin bases off of, in part, to the War of the Roses back in Europe, and so that a lot of these conflicts between these families and these groups, these houses that are warring amongst each other, a lot of it has to do with Europe and other cultures meshed together. And so the human condition has always been, greed and conquest and all that, which is one of the reasons why America, in my opinion, is such a great country, because despite of all that, they were able to come together and compromise to put something together that wasn't perfect, but gave the ability to improve through time, and I can get into that too. I'll probably do a video on that, but that was the country we were given, brought out of nothing, out of the conquest mentality of other warring peoples and tribes and groups for centuries. But yet, here in America, it came together out of nothing on the principle that every person has the ability and the God-given right to exist and to thrive and to have liberty and prosperity and to, be happy, And so I think a lot of times these Hollywood people don't have that perspective of not only the people that they serve because they're in their own little bubble, and number two, they don't understand the worldview that the founding fathers had in terms of God being in the center of our rights, and that not being taken from us, and that being that we must have laws to protect ourselves from each other, and that's the system that we live in. And so to look at other countries and see the violence that's going on, that's just the human condition. That's how it's always going to be. And so, but we have to have the ability to have justice and laws to prevent ourselves from being torn apart. And that's the difference between us and Game of Thrones, that and being that we don't have dragons and magical swords that cut through everything and everything like that. So that's enough of that little rant there. And what else do I have? Let's just go back to the timeline here. All right, and so lastly, I don't talk about this. All right, so this is Frank Oz, and I didn't quite research this the best, but Frank Oz, essentially, who was the puppeteer of the Muppets and also Star Wars Yoda, has some quotes here. I'm going to just say them real quick. So, looks like, what do we have here? Okay, so Frank Oz, the puppeteer and voice of Yoda in Star Wars franchise, is looking to stir up the fans with a recent statement he made regarding the complaints fans have had regarding Rian Johnson's Star Wars The Last Jedi. Now, when Star Wars The Last Jedi came out, I thought it was pretty good. I mean, the reason why I said that is because I was so wrapped up in that movie, especially at the end when Luke came out there and he was about to fight against the AT-AT walkers, and that whole thing. I just thought he was going to go down in a blaze of gunfire and so forth, and so I was just on edge the whole movie. And it wasn't until I got a chance to digest some of that stuff that I realized that it wasn't really my cup of tea. Now, there was a lot of things in that movie I liked, but the more I sat back and looked at it, the more I disliked it. I don't think I dislike it as much as some other people dislike it, but I dislike their attempts. See, so let me step back. The movie itself, in the microcosm of itself, if it was just its own little movie, it would have been fine. It would have been great, whatever, right? But the fact that it's a Star Wars movie and it went against everything that other Star Wars movies did, it didn't fit in continuity in terms of tone, in terms of messaging, as any of the other movies. I mean, you never saw anything dealing with any kind of social justice warrior type agenda in Star Wars. That blatantly, especially with the racetrack and the that sort of thing with the treatment of animals and so forth, which I'm totally for. I mean, in terms of I'm all for treating animals properly, but it just didn't fit right, and those characters could have been doing a lot more in that. And so I didn't dislike the movie as much as I disliked the way they were trying to use the movie to push forth their agenda, and I thought that was really not cool, and it made me hard not to watch it. Every movie, Star Wars movie that's come out, I've watched at least 20 times each one, at least. And so this one I've only seen like 3 times total, I think, and that's unheard of for me. And so I'm not looking forward to the 9th one, unfortunately, because they just basically ruined everything that JJ set up. I mentioned that before in another video. And so anyway, that's that. Anyway, he goes on to say, Frank Oz says, I love the movie. All the people who don't like this Jedi thing is just horse crap. It's about expectations. The movie didn't fill their expectations. But as filmmakers, we're not here to fulfill people's expectations. He goes on to say, yeah, there's a whole backlash. I couldn't understand that whole backlash. I didn't get it. I thought it was a great piece of work. I never understood that backlash. I'm somebody that works with the script, and if their script is there and I believe the script is organic and right for the moment and character, then that's kind of all I think about. I don't think about extra powers or anything. I just go with it. I just don't consider that really. So there's a lot to unpack there, but I mean, certainly it's his opinion, and I think, you know, at the core of his statement, he does say what he's saying is true. I mean, he loved the movie. He said that he didn't know why people didn't get it, and expectations weren't fulfilled. That's for sure. But as filmmakers, we're not here to fulfill people's expectations. Okay, well, fine. Well, we also don't have to like your film. We also don't have to bow down and say, you know, to kiss your feet and say, oh, this is a great movie. Okay, just like you have the obligation to make your own movie, we have the obligation not to go. And so that's that. So he should at least acknowledge that part of it. And with something as, not say it's sacred, but something as important to people as Star Wars is, and being in this 8th film, you would think by then you would try and keep a consistent, you know, narrative through all the films. George Lucas himself said that these films rhyme. Okay, and the prequels, for all the crap that people gave it, it did rhyme. And the thing is, some of it was on the nose, right, with the hand and some other things. But the execution of the prequels may not have been the best. But the prequels are looking better and better now. I think Lucas just didn't, like I said, execute, but the story itself was fine. I think it was a fine story to have, and it fits within the other 3 films. The Force Awakens, to me, fit with the other 3 films, partially because a lot of questions were unanswered. You didn't know who Rey was, you didn't know who Kylo Ren was, you didn't know who the Knights of the Ren were, you didn't know who Snoke was, you didn't know where Luke was, you didn't know, and so all these things were kind of questioning. You didn't know how Han and Leia got split up. You don't know what happened between Kylo and his son. I'm drawing a blank. Anyway, his apprentice, and also he didn't talk about what happened with R2-D2. Why was his memory erased? Why was he whatever? And so that was all fine. So it was all set up for the next film, in which Rian Johnson totally tore that. Kylo Ren, by the way. I was thinking hard on that one. Yeah, Kylo Ren. So the relationship between Luke and Kylo Ren, that was never really explained in Force Awakens. And so, yeah, so The Last Jedi, all it had to do was just knock down the dominoes and then set up the last one. It was a no-brainer. They could have made it so awesome, but they didn't. They basically, spoilers here, okay, in case you haven't seen it. You kill off Snoke, you already killed off Han, and Princess Leia's dead. They died, so you couldn't do anything about that anyway. But you kill off Snoke, you basically tell Rey she's nobody, and you essentially saying that Luke doesn't care. He throws the lightsaber over his shoulder he was really sticking it to the fans there. And that was from the very beginning. It kind of set the whole tone for that. And you basically take all the characters and make them do things that are totally meaningless. I mean, I don't know. So now the 9th film has to almost start over again, and in one film wrap everything up. And that's going to be a big challenge. And so with Frank Oz's comments, I'm not going to dog out Frank Oz. He's a legend, and that's his opinion. And I don't think it's necessary. I think he just doesn't get. Well, he doesn't acknowledge the fact that we have the ability to not watch the movies, And it's okay for them to make their own movie, but it's also okay for us to not watch the movies and to comment of our dislike. Because believe it or not, the producers of Hollywood, the producers of these films, listen to the fans to a certain extent because they want to make sure they can get these movies sold. And one of the reasons why Captain Marvel did so well is because the fan base within Captain Marvel in the comic book universe is small compared to the overall popcorn eating fan, the general fan who doesn't watch all of the YouTube videos, who doesn't read the articles, who doesn't read a Variety or whatever. They don't care. They're going to go see whatever movies out there that's popular. And so that fan base over those 21 movies now has grown so much that now the comic book fans, the core that got the Marvel MCU up to speed, they're a minority now. And so they can actually almost do anything they want now because they kind of replaced those guys. And now their general fans of just movies are going to go with it regardless. You take that fact, plus you put it in the middle of two big movies and a cliffhanger that's going to be one of the biggest cliffhangers in movie history where the bad guy wins. Really? You're going to stick a movie in here that's going to be a tie-in to the next film? You kidding me? You're going to launch it out before every single theater that you can possibly launch out for? And a massive release. Disney put this movie in a way that is going to succeed regardless. And so I just don't. I don't know what the big concern there is. So I lost my train of thought there. Anyway, that's all I had. So I guess with that, I'm going to sign off here, and I am going to wish you guys a good night, and I hope that that you consider subscribing and liking this channel, and comment below and let me know. And I have some few things I'm going to do. I'm going to announce another video soon. I got some more movie reviews coming up, and this weekend I have an interview hopefully lined up as well. So stay tuned for that. And if you are interested in anything else, you can check out these videos that I have linked right here next to me.